So we just want to make a few comments as we traditionally do, and then let you get right back to networking and enjoying this beautiful facility. So good evening, I'm Chris Cooney. I'm the president of the Metro South Chamber of Commerce. It's my pleasure to welcome you here to this beautiful campus and Donahue Hall, which many of you know was the former Ames estate, summer estate, I just learned. I thought it was their regular home. This is their summer home. And it's just a gorgeous facility, and we're just so delighted to be here and to have you all here with us. We're delighted to be celebrating our 30th anniversary here. It was Fran Dillon and my predecessor, Mark Egan, who came together and established this event. And it's just a great informal way for folks to talk amongst themselves about their own visions and concerns, not only for their business and the community, but also for the future of the region and how we can keep our region and our communities competitive. You know, over the last 30 years, we've had a number of elected officials and candidates come through this event. We've had U.S. senators, we've had congressmen, governors, and so on. We are expecting State Auditor Suzanne Bump to be here. She's registered. She's, of course, grew up in Whitman, and she should be along shortly. But in addition, today we have also with us the CEO, the new CEO of the Mass Office of Business Development, Nat Lee, who's with us. And Nat, where are you, Nat? Just give a wave. A round of applause. Delighted she's here. She's been very supportive of regional economic development, and in particular our chamber and our work in that area. So thank you for being here. This event has been a constant and really a changing political dynamic and changing issues throughout the years. Tonight is a great opportunity for us to meet and just kind of talk about our concerns again in our business, our communities, and also the region. You know, issues like the water supply, sewerage, transportation, workforce training and preparation, those all apply to all of us and distinguish us as a region from other regions in the state and New England, and it's really important. You know, it's not about cheap electricity or land anymore. It's about available labor and skilled labor. And the more we can all do to focus on that, it will be the key to our future. It'll create an increased demand on the real estate that's here because the workers are here, which will result in the businesses being here to access those workers, even if it's a little bit more expensive in New England to operate. If we can provide the workers and keep the workers here, and then that will lead us to greater prosperity. I do want to acknowledge some of our board members who are here with us tonight, and we couldn't do any of this without their support. Many of them represent large organizations and members, longstanding members of the community. So we have with us our Chamber's Chair of the Board, Fred Clark, President of Bridgewater State University. In addition, we have CPA Greg Hart, who's also our Treasurer of the Chamber. Greg's here, also Easton resident. And we have a fairly new director, Todd Copeland of Copeland Toyota, Copeland Chevrolet, and Copeland Volkswagen now. They just added that. So where is Todd? What are you driving tonight anyway? Which one? In addition, we have also a fairly new director and somebody who has really developed good relationship here and is a dynamic force. The new president, Dr. Maricela Marrero, president of Good Samaritan Medical Center, who's here. And they have facilities both in Brockton and Stoughton locally, but obviously throughout the state and now the nation. They've grown dramatically since they came to Brockton. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our MC, our longstanding chair of the Government Affairs Committee, the soon-to-be retired Ray Ledoux from Brockton, New Jersey.
Well, thank you, Chris. I feel like I've been here for almost every one of the 30 years that Fran Dillon hosted all of these, and I'd like to thank Fran. And I see Fran there with us today. And I would like to turn it over to our host here, Doug Smith, who is the Vice President for Advancement. And before he comes, I just want to publicly make a pleading to him. For all of the years that Fran and I, kind of co-emceed this event, I reminded Fran that Father Duffy, the once president of Stonehill College, promised my father-in-law, because they were cousins and relations, and he was his uncle, that my children would go to school here for free. Well, and I pleaded with Fran every year, and he gave me a book about the history of Stonehill, and that's the best he did. So I start with the pleading with Doug, who I've worked with in the Boy Scouts over years, with the same pleading. Now, for the future years, remember what we gave Fran last year for his gift? Something he never would get or have, a golf trophy, right? So don't worry, we have you squarely in our sights as well. So let me welcome Doug.
Nice try, Ray. On behalf of Stonehill College, I'd really like to welcome everyone here this evening. I'm pleased to report, Ray, that Fran's golf game has not improved in the past year, even though he has all this time. Although he did sink a couple of great putts last Sunday. Yeah, he saved me on a few holes, so I appreciate that. But on behalf of the college for 30 years, this is a great event, and we look forward to hosting it every year. You know, when we look at the Metro South region, how lucky we are to live here, but we do have our challenges. But those challenges can be overcome when we combine, you know, folks from the business community, folks from the nonprofit community, and our elected officials all working together to solve the problems and seize the opportunities that are in front of us. So on behalf of the college, we're so happy to be in the Metro South area, so happy to host the chamber and the good work that you do, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
Doug did say he would see what he could do, but he doesn't know that my kids have already graduated college, so he said he knew that. So I have the honor of introducing our elected officials here and guests, but I ask if you can, because there are so many here. You've already applauded for the chamber board members, and we thank you for that. If you can hold your applause until we announce all of the representatives here, that would be great. So I'd like to recognize Representative Bill Driscoll, and we have Representative Michelle Dubois here. We have a long-standing and retired representative, and she's retired, Jerry Creedon, who has joined us here this evening. Chris has already announced here from the Commonwealth, Nat Lee from the Mass Office of Business and Development. We have Timothy Cruz, our Plymouth County District Attorney, John Buckley, our Plymouth County Registry, from the Registry of Deeds, Robert Creedon, Plymouth County Clerk of Courts, Sandra Wright, our Plymouth County Commissioner. Robert Sullivan was here earlier, Brockton City Council President and mayoral candidate. Councilor Susan Castro was here earlier from Ward 4. Ann Beauregard, City Brockton Councilor from Ward 5. Jack Lally, Brockton City Councilor from Ward 6. Jim Pereira, mayoral candidate for the City of Brockton, is here with us tonight as well. Mark D'Agostino from the Brockton School Committee, Ward 3. And then we also have Greg Enos, administrator from the town of Avon. We have Sean George, Town Council Vice President, Town of Bridgewater. Dennis Gallagher, Town Council President, Councilor at Large from the Town of Bridgewater, and I might add my neighbor. So your lawn needs a little trimming there. Okay. Greg Barker, Board of Selectmen, Vice Chairman from the Town of Easton. Dottie Fulgenetti, Board of Selectmen, the Chair for the Town of Easton. Thomas Broussard, Board of Selectmen, Town of Easton. Is there anyone in Easton tonight? No? Okay. We have Robin Mokazian Grimm, from the Town Manager from the Town of Stoughton. Frank Lynham, Town Administrator from the Town of Whitman. Lisa Green, Assistant Town Administrator, Town of Whitman. Justin Evans, Board of Selectmen, Town of Whitman. And Mike Petrovsky, Southeastern Regional School Committee. We also have Steve Lainas running for councilor in Ward 1, and we also have Pat Charamella, the retiring executive director of Old Colony Planning Council. So why don't we give everybody a round of applause for Chris and I get together and kind of talk a little bit about this event, and it's really not a heavy lifting event because it's social, but one of the things that we can't escape noticing is that all of the tumult that we see going on in Washington, you can't turn on whether you like CNN, Fox News, or whatever channel. Thank goodness ESPN is not covering what's happening in Washington, other than the poor Washington Redskins and how my receiver's not doing any well on my fantasy football team. But what Chris and I do talk about is when we're at an event like this and we look out and you look left and you look right, you don't see a D next to anyone's name. You don't see an R for Republican or I for Independent. We see people who we respectfully call, representative or senator, or by their office they hold. But we see Tim, we see Dottie, we see Frank, we see Fred. We see people who we know here who work in a very, very collegial manner. And I get to go to many towns throughout the Commonwealth, and I have to say that we don't see a divisiveness when people work to better their regions, to make their regions a livable community. And there is a lot of regional cooperation here in the Metro South, and a lot of that has to do with the work that all of you do on a daily basis and the work that the Chamber does in terms of fostering some of those relationships. One of the things is, Chris mentioned earlier, he recognized Nat from the Office from the Commonwealth, and her office provided funds for the Chamber to promote regional economic development. And some of the forums which you've attended, and even recently a forum on housing, forums on water. And if you happen to open up the Enterprise today or yesterday, in the front page of the Enterprise article, there was a comment by the mayor about looking at what to do with buying the Aquaria facility, water facility, and then negotiating a new agreement. Some of that information comes from the position papers that the redo effort from the Commonwealth and funding have actually funded. Some of the redo efforts that we have engaged upon is what to do with the CSX freight yards for economic development, water and sewer regionalization, housing regionalization. And many of you, we see at all of those events in your capacity as whether it be the president of the university, you're there all the time, a select person from one of your communities. And want to thank you, Nat, for your sponsorship and stewardship and the trust in the Metro South Chamber that you give us. And you see, this is part of that, bringing together all of these concepts. So as I say, when you look to your right and you look to your left, you see a friend, you see a colleague, you don't see a competitor. So I think that that deserves a round of applause for all of you here tonight. So now, so that you can continue to look at your friends next to you and work on regionalism and work on the things that you want to do in your town, or work on your fantasy football trades, which are very important, or anything like that, because there is a game tonight at 8:20. They're an hour and a half. So I just have a couple of housekeeping announcements. Our next Good Morning Metro South breakfast will be held on Wednesday, October 23rd at 11:45 to 1:30 p.m. at the new Father Peyton Center here in Easton. Featured speakers will be Father Willie Raymond and the director of the center, and Don Wilson, the founder of Prospecting Intel, who will talk to us about maximizing opportunities through referrals. Also on October 17th, the week before, there will be an event talking about housing in the New England Real Estate Journal on Thursday, October 17th, to be held at Thorny Golf Course. That event will be held from 8 a.m. to noon. And then finally, our 106th annual meeting and business-to-business expo will take place on Wednesday, November 20th at the new multipurpose auditorium at the Teen Challenge Center. Many of you were there last year. A wonderful place to enjoy and share, a wonderful facility in the city of Brockton. But we encourage you, please respond and register as soon as possible, because it will sell out. And poor Chris and the staff, have to try to fit everybody in and does not want to say no to anyone. So please register and see Lexi or any of the staff. And I think that we owe Doug, we owe our sponsor Crescent Credit Union and Bob Gustafson, is he still here? So, but Bob, a great supporter of the Chamber over all of these years. If we can just give them a round of applause. And one last comment. The comments that you happen to see in the newspaper about Aquaria, the city of Brockton, someone called Chris Cooney just the other day and said, where is that study? Where is that position paper that was generated? I can't put my fingertips on it. But what they didn't know is when they called Chris Cooney or sent him an email, Chris was in Egypt yesterday. So doesn't he look great? He always looks great. So Chris, thank you for your quick responsiveness. We couldn't do any of this without you. You can go take a nap now. So enjoy and please mingle. Thank you, everybody.
So before we let you get back to your networking and whatnot, as many of you know, Ray has been involved in the city. He grew up here in Brockton and has done phenomenal work, not just in transit coordination, but economic development, really, in downtown and redeveloping that whole multi-use transit, what do they call it? Intermodal center, yes, that connected the rail and the buses and all of that, as well as administration offices and the new parking garage and all that. I mean, really extraordinary. But he also, during that time, has served more than 25 years in various capacities with the Chamber of Commerce, and this is his last legislative affairs reception as chair. He's retiring November 1st from his position and will go off the Chamber's board on November 20th. So we have a special presentation we'd like to make, and in order to do that, we'd like to bring up both Fran Dillon and Fred Clark to combine in this effort. Thank you. Fran.
Thank you. Revenge is sweet.
Had I known, I would not have said it.
Some of you remember last year when I was stepping down from my position that Ray presented me with this wonderful gift. And he said, we wanted to give you something we knew you didn't have and something we knew you never would have. And he gave me a golf trophy. So many people can complain about my golf, but Ray cannot. Two quick stories. One, I was out in the course with Ray one time in the first hole, and just as he was about to take his shot, the pro from the golf shop on a microphone said, would the gentleman in the first hole please take his ball off the lady's tee? So Ray looked annoyed and went back to take the shot again, and again, this voice, the golf pro, said, excuse me, would the gentleman on the first hole please take his ball off the lady's tee? Now Ray is getting angrier and angrier, but he's still lining up his shot. For a third time, the golf pro says, Ray, would you please take your ball off the woman's tee? And Ray said, would you please shut up so I can take my second shot? He is a very avid golfer. He's not a very good golfer, but he's a very avid golfer. Another time we were out on the course and we're on the fairway and there's the town road running past the fairway, and all of a sudden this funeral procession goes by. And Ray stops, takes off his hat and blesses himself. And I said, Ray, what a generous and thoughtful thing to do, to remember the dead as they pass by. And he said, it's the least I could do. She's been my mother-in-law for 35 years. So Ray, we're starting a club. I was the first inductee last year, and we would like to induct you into the Bad Golfers Hall of Fame.
You just need two more for forcing.
Thank you, Fran. I did play golf twice this week, and it wasn't pretty. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
So I think Fred was going to say, we also knew that that's something you absolutely did not have. And so we know it's a nice surprise. Anyway, now let's just enjoy Stonehill and each other's company. There's plenty of food and music, and the bar is still open from what I understand. And so thank you all for coming out, and we hope to see you soon at another event. Thank you.
Thank you.